All right, so 6:03, we're gonna call this meeting to order. Let's see. Any changes or adjustments or additions tonight? Seeing none. This is going to be the informational meeting for our annual meeting, because we're going to be doing it not in person. Just a little housekeeping before we start. This is going to be information about the budget. If anybody has any questions, stuff like that, we can try to answer them best of our ability. All questions are to be directed at the chair, and we'll do our best to answer everybody's questions. So we'll start with. You guys want to start with Eric? You're here to see? Let's see what's there is. Okay. Stop. Would you want to move over to the mic just so people on the Zoom can hear you?
I emailed everybody around noon. What my questions were, so you had some time to.
I did receive an email.
Okay.
I think you're on it.
No.
I don't think Ken was.
Oh shoot. Sorry, Ken. Okay. Anyway, Rosemary, you'll probably. But I had several lines that I had questions on. So
Pick one to start and ask you a question.
what's that?
So pick one to start and then ask you a question.
Okay, I'm gonna start with the general fund budget. Breakdown.
What page?
16.
So line 24, electric department in lieu of taxes. Can you explain exactly what that means? That instead of paying
Taxes, they pay in lieu of. If they pay in lieu of taxes
This is at the
for
college,
the
right?
electricity.
for the lines that are inside the village limits.
Okay, thank you.
They pay town taxes for the lines that are in town. This is personal village lines they have inside.
Okay, thanks. Line 28. Just some clarity on what this means, how your reserve fund create revenue.
This was the sidewalk project. And this portion is the portion that came out of the reserve fund for the sidewalk project on Pearl Street.
Okay, so it's moving it from one line to another.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. And none of that's budgeted for this year.
No, the project's completed.
Very good. Line 40. That $6,000 I seem to remember was for the fire department. Is that true? Is that why they pay that flat fee every year?
Yes.
Okay, so then, and I know that the fire department is part of the general department, but does that get then moved to their budget?
That part is the fire department in general. On line 31 starts.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see the title now. Yeah, okay. Line 65. The legal expenses. This is the only place that in all the budgets that I saw legal expenses. And I just wondered.
And the enterprise fund is outside services.
The other budget is outside services? Okay. So, what would be a legal expense for the general department? Like, what would that? Example, what that would be for? Why would you go to the lawyer for the general department?
Questions about meetings, questions about
Sidewalk projects.
sidewalk projects, police information, stuff like that, all general fund stuff.
Then down to 76, this was a really big question mark. Was the miscellaneous expenses for 2021, the actuals. $17,352. Versus it's typically a couple hundred.
What was an estimate for back pay? And insurances and all the other employee expenses.
That was in the salary benefit section.
Go ahead, Eric.
That was just some clarification on that. What do you mean back pay? What is it exactly?
Explain that.
Was that the arbitration?
Mhm.
So we had a dispute with an employee. They were put on leave. Did arbitration. The arbitrator came back and they had to get back. They had to get paid for the time that they were released. So that's where that back pay.
And you wouldn't apply it against the different departments prorated.
Here in the budget is where Meredith estimated it. And we didn't actually do the stuff until March.
So it's more of a placeholder than my estimate, my assumption what Meredith did, because we needed it in the budget because we knew it was coming. So it just went in our miscellaneous until we pulled out and put it into a different. You know, it's not going to be any difference on the number. It's just a placeholder. So miscellaneous is miscellaneous, and until it gets coded differently, then it'll be put into a different place. But it needs to be accounted for.
So accurate, this coming year, 250 is accurate, because that's more
Yes.
scope of our real year. Okay, so that'll. Later, okay, that, yeah. All right, 80, line 80, postage, why was it so high in 2021?
We
The
had
mailing of the
mailing of two
ballots.
separate ballots.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the majority of it.
Down to 100. Full general government. Budget and the actuals are about a $26,000 difference. Because of that miscellaneous. Under buildings and grounds.
That's the whole total budget.
So in 2022, you're expecting, you're budgeting for way less. It just feels like such a big swing in numbers.
No, there's no sidewalk project.
There's no sidewalk budget. then again, on one of three operations and maintenance labor, again, the actuals for 2021 and the budget for this year is about a $15,000 increase.
It's actually just about $200 and something over the budget for 2021. So
May I clarify, Rosemary, is that where 103/2021 actual, is that where that miscellaneous $15,000 is actually like relevant to, is that the department uses?
Mostly, yes.
Okay, so that puts that one right at 79,985. But then the holiday and CPO is really out of scope with the rest of the years.
Well, we had COVID and the guys were sent home when they couldn't be in the garage.
so it was just CTO and stuff for that, right?
Will they, with the budget for 2022, will they be able to be in the garage and then are the repairs planned to be done?
We're, currently got a engineer working on a plan, and, obviously summertime is mostly outside anyway, so. Our hope is that the engineer comes back with a plan that can be acted this year to be able to get it so that when they're generally back at the building more often, towards the winter time, that the building should be up to safer levels. Yeah, exactly. So obviously, that's the plans that might amend, but that is our goal.
Thank you. So 117, the sidewalks, there's about $10,000 budgeted. Which sidewalks is going to be worked on this year?
But that's maintenance as well, so that's also.
That's like cleaning out the storm drains.
So storm drain maintenance and sidewalks. So we got a anticipation to get the storm drains done by, was it Hardigan? Hardigan. So we short a budget for that.
Okay. But nothing budgeted for
Construction.
And Eric, you might be able to help with this one. On 119, the sidewalk fund, which does 10 cents of the town grant list funds, nothing's been put in that for 4 years now, 5 years. What do we think of that? I seem to remember that was, part of why town, or the town had stuff, part of that, those, the 10 cent on the grant list would go towards sidewalks.
Maintenance
And
and plowing and snow, salting and sanding and repairs and stuff like that.
yeah, the fund here, so that that's my new work with.
And that's been allocated out of that for this year, for the last few years.
Snow removal, so little this year for snow removal expenses for 2021.
What number do you want?
Sorry, 124.
So you're talking about the budgeted amount?
The actuals. For
The actuals.
2021.
Was that a coding thing?
There was an agreement between the town and the village regarding salt.
Okay.
They swapped,
They swap labor for salt.
which may or may not happen next year.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, 172, Rosemary, honey, what was the small? Exactly what's so much?
They replaced all their air packs, is that what it is?
Well, for the fire department, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was the fire department, yeah.
That was, yeah, there was a budgeted replacement of all the air packs. They've been replaced during the fire, but at this point here, they've got to reach in their life and so anyways, we got rid of those.
So that was a special situation for that. Okay, and then I just was curious about starting at 181 on down, the cash on hand. There's the budget numbers, but not the actual numbers. I don't understand why.
At the end of this year, we had $26,000 approximately, and the board has decided to reserve out $8,000 for the fire department for their helmets that are out of service.
Other lifespan.
So it leaves a balance of $18,000.
Okay. Okay. And it looks like it's common practice that you don't fill in that actual column.
Yeah.
I think that's all I have for the general.
Oh, so while we're still on the general budget, do you have any questions on the general budget, Jason?
I did have just one. This one, line 147, is on loans at 0, or did we just pay all the loans back?
Which line are you on?
147.
147 on page 19.
Yeah, I don't think that's. Maybe it's in the total with the capital.
So the principal and the loans are all set into one,
Maybe.
on one
I
line
mean, it's
versus
not
separate
a
account.
huge amount of money, it's just, I was just wondering.
Yeah, I think it's included in line 165. At
Pretty clear.
least I think it's included in 165.
165. Thank you.
So we have order.
I just wanted to also mention just a small
It's good.
typo on the general department's treasury report, resume, which still says Johnson State College.
Oh, okay.
They forget.
That's gonna be called
I
something
don't
different
care.
now.
I know, actually. Wait a minute.
We need 2 more years.
So onto the water department budget.
I have a question about the community improvement grant on page 26. Is that the revolving loan fund?
Yes.
I noticed nothing's really been loaned out of that for.
Nobody's asked for 3 or 4 years, couple years. Yeah, it's not doing anybody any good in the bank
Yeah, I
account.
don't think so. All right, water department, line 15. Capital reserve fund, again, something went in 2021. $12,736.
So the group level.
Be more.
No, it's like water department.
Well, water. Okay. Let me see where- Oh,
Could have been other accounts they replaced. They took money out of the reserve fund to pay for it.
for the phone. So basically, just so you're aware, the pumps all the water for all the village
Yep.
is aging.
Uh-huh.
And we want to make sure to have somebody, we've actually got the pump order, but it's going to be several months to get the pump. The
Mhm.
reason for that is if the pump goes down, we're disconnecting from the NATO well.
Right.
And that would leave us about 3 days worth of water. So considering it's gonna take 4, 5, 6 months to get the pump, we want to order it now. So if it does go down, we can have it back up and running within that 3-day period. So that would be, and that pump's wicked expensive. But to have one on hand is gonna prevent us from going to either trying to reconnect to the NATO well, which would mean no drink water, and then otherwise have to clean it up before we could open it up to drinkable water again, or having the pump on hand. So setting money aside for that was part of the board's down the road and save us a lot of heartache.
Right, I remember that. So, yeah, okay. Is there a plan to secure another reservoir, or you just hope to have?
I was on the board last time we did that, and
Took 10 years.
yeah, and it's not on our agenda currently. You know, we're having no issues other than the minerals and stuff, which everybody's got, they're dealing with. It's all the USDA regulations, stuff like that, but to look to search for another well site is not on our agenda at this time.
So you just have to keep the infrastructure really. Like,
Yeah. Obviously, that's what we're looking for, is making sure that with the NATO well before, with it being tested all the time, it would just be a flip of a switch essentially, and we'd be running until we got an alternative pump or something like that. But with that coming up to us being a total disconnect and having to do no drink water, that's when we started getting that pump on the order before we did the disconnect. So looking for another source. Like I said, like it was 10 years to get that site, and it was quite expensive. We drilled several wells,
Oh, yeah.
test wells and stuff like that. So finding this, it's a lot of the areas that people are already thinking they could do, they've already been explored.
Okay. All right, thanks. Okay, and again, line 18 miscellaneous income. 10,000 and change, 2021 at 59,000. Is that?
It's gonna be part USDA grant funds, and they're gonna use some ARPA money to make up the difference in the deficit. May not be all that, we may not have that much deficit. Which is one of the things ARPA can be used for.
I see. Okay. Office expense 38,938. Why's that gone up so much from like 2018 to now? Is that just general everything going up, or?
I think in 2018 or 19, the water and sewer department started to pay the general department rent of $37.50 for each department. And that was included in the office expense.
For the water.
Outside contract service for 6.
Is that part of the argument? The outside services? No, this is water, so I can back to sewer.
Meredith told us that it was her.
Part of hers and
A garage engineer
mhm.
fee.
So that's when she went to Meredith went to the contracted service. Okay.
Yep.
So I noticed line 68, speaking of outside contractors, outside contract services, there are two for the plant operation.
Yes,
It's, looks like it's always underfunded. It always gets, the budget's always blown on that item for some reason.
Do you want 67 or 68?
Sorry, 68.
Okay.
Just more of a, something I noticed.
19 or over. 2018.
I think that's probably Dan's, and that's probably just his best guess, and, you know, so it's not thousands of, so.
And 86, my 86 fuels and oil, I just noticed there was no actual.
the water department doesn't own any trucks.
They have used fuel and oil in the past.
Or probably before
Okay.
the outside contractors bought the truck.
Okay. What do we do without you? You know?
So before we move on, any questions about water, since we're in water?
Nope.
Okay.
Water, reserve fund 16. Budget of 57,000 and change, but nothing actually spent.
That's the cupola.
Cool.
Okay.
We couldn't get anybody to bid on the damn job, so, you know, that's gonna.
Okay. So it's just been pushed, it's been.
Just like everything else in COVID, it's been pushed off until better times or better materials. I mean, it's not in danger of falling into the moment, but it's something that needs urgent attention, not emergency attention. And to do it during a significant rise of materials is not beneficial. So we'll try to stage that at a time when materials and labor are where they're at.
Makes sense. Okay, 19 miscellaneous revenue. What would that be? 51,000 this year.
ARPA money.
ARPA, okay. And what does loan proceeds mean, Rosemary, on line 22?
They're redoing the River Street pump station
Yeah.
and we're getting a loan so that the money for
Okay.
the actual loan,
Okay.
which didn't happen last year, it's gonna happen this year.
Okay.
That's where we're at.
In line 50, that contracted outside service, was that there this time?
And the consultant for the garage.
Okay. And again, line 73, that outside contracted service.
That's the contract with the sewer plant operators.
Right.
Dan's not an employee of the village.
Right. So back in 2018, that's when you had just the actual, the one employee, and then it switched to contracted services.
I don't know when it switched. It was
Yeah, it was mid-year.
Mid-year in 18.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I just. Salary increases. And what's the collection system maintenance A3?
That'd be the sewer lines being cleaned
Okay,
and trapped before the Guyon River. I know they have to hit that a couple times a year.
so you just know, he always budgets quite a bit because you kind of never know.
Especially if we get, if we get caught with, there's a siphon on the other side of the bridge there. If we get caught on a weekend holiday and stuff like that, you just never know. So I'd safer to budget.
Mhm.
Those trucks aren't cheap.
Okay, that's all I had to that.
Okay, does anybody have anything else in the wastewater? Seeing none? Use the electric.
Okay, line 6, what does merchandising and shopping mean? $45,000.
Home services, they have a big project at Jolly's going in, which is probably almost half of that
Oh, really?
for electric charging stations.
These electric vehicles.
Okay.
And I guess there's quite a few jobs that are being planned to be done this year. That people have requested.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know it's at least 8 of them.
Mhm.
They're slated for either upgrades or new installs.
Okay.
And it takes time. Some of the transfers are out. Almost takes a half a year to get them.
Okay. And what's the next line, 7, deferred revenue, what's that about?
Years ago, Comcast paid for some upgrades for Route 100C,
Mhm.
and they've done part of the project, and they're still waiting to do the rest of the project.
Down to miscellaneous revenue 15. There's a lot in 2021, but nothing budgeted for this year.
So,
She hasn't got any notes in here.
I didn't see anything about it. Don't have an answer for that.
What's that?
Don't have an answer for that.
Next page. What is the project 10?
What number?
Oh, sorry,
50.
50.
It's part of our power purchase. There's a peaker plant in Swanton when there's really high demand
Uh-huh.
that has to come on. And that's what we pay, that's the power purchase cost for that project.
So we're part investors in that project. Is that proper terminology?
Mhm.
Okay, so we're part investors in that project so that when the peak load is there, that they can turn it on, natural gas, I believe it is, and then they're getting paid peak load charges.
Mhm.
So through BEPSA, we're putting our portion of the BEPSA members to participate in that program.
Okay, thanks. On line 82, substation maintenance contracted. 15,000, there's no actuals for the last couple of years, and then there's 15,000 budgeted for this year.
Right, so this is some upgrades to the substation that's been needing to be done, but obviously materials not being available and stuff like that has been put off. I think Troy had this looks like we're optimistically moving forward this year, and it's I don't understand the whole thing myself, but I know that that's a pretty big project, so it's
Okay,
going to be yeah, it's more than what just our guys can handle. So
okay, so you have to get extra
yeah,
outside help
Yeah.
for that. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, thanks. For the tree trimming labor on 85,
Mhm.
again, sort of never know, so it's always about 25,000. And do you guys, does our crew or the town, village crew, love the town crew with the ash borer stuff? Is that-
My recollection was you needed a chipper or something, Eric, right? And we sent a couple guys over the chipper for a day, it's kind of a swap of labor thing, so.
Line 97, lab customer records collections. Quite high this year.
Assume if it's collections, because when people come out of when the COVID relief is no longer available, I'm assuming collections is gonna be higher than the population growth there.
Yes. We
So,
haven't been able to shut anybody off for the past 2 years.
so it's gonna take it's gonna be out of the ordinary. I would assume that people that get behind and stay behind, and it gets to a point where we actually can deal with it, then it's gonna be a bit more of a normal year, so.
Line 106, what's stores expense labor mean?
I think that's the inventory they have over at the garage. All the electrical pieces, they keep track of it.
Okay. 109, outside services. Budgeted quite higher this year.
Does that include the
Garage.
safety,
Yep.
garage mostly, right, but the safety equipment, the glasses and stuff like that, they gotta do research and gloves and.
Right, and they skipped classes for
Right,
COVID
so we're
period,
gonna
so
have
they're
to-
gonna be in for a lot higher than normal.
Yeah, so.
Um, 119, sick vacation holiday. Budget, the actual for 2021 was quite different.
Right, and again, that was because of the building and COVID. Same as it was before. You asked on the,
Yeah, can I get more clarification on that one? That was, you're looking at like double, so it would indicate that, like, yes, COVID and the building are a problem, but we have to, I guess, is there, outside of fixing the building, is this gonna, will fixing the building solve this, if COVID goes by the wayside?
and it's CTO, so I mean, it's combined time off, so they can take a sick vacation or holidays. So it's kind of at the, if they take a day off, we pay them when it goes in this category. So,
So is that something that's regulated by, like, the Vermont City Leagues and Towns, is it by contracts? Because it seems like CTO is becoming a liability to us, if it's doubling the costs of what we're budgeting.
They're just taking more of it.
yeah, I would say it's not, I mean, they're through the contract with the unions and our other employees. They get, I mean, like, you get so much time off, you get so much allocated.
Yeah.
And if you don't take it all, you don't take any of it for 2 years, but the third year you take more of it, it just takes that category. It's that category of CTO. Does it make sense? They have a bank and
No,
they're,
I mean, it makes sense, but I do think it puts us at a liability if we have a whole bunch of people banking tons of it. I feel like there's maybe the system that it's being kept in or something might be configured. It seems to me it's a liability on the taxpayers.
I mean, there is a cap and
There is a cap.
is it 330 or something like that?
Yeah, but most of this was for non-work hours due to COVID and
Right,
the garage.
right. I mean, so again, that number shouldn't peak like that again unless we have another pandemic, but,
Okay, so it's directly related to pandemic and garage.
I'd say just proportional amount of it.
Yep. Thank you.
128 for miscellaneous administrative expense. Super high for the actual 2021.
Again, that was an estimate for back pay.
Same employees before. Does anybody else have anything to ask on the electric department? Any other questions about the annual report?
Doing this for each department. How they landed in the end, and just
Summary?
well, I guess also how, yeah. So the general. Yeah, so how much are taxes going to be raised this year, basically?
Depends upon how the vote goes on the 5th. If the vote for Article 6 passes, it'll go up 28%. And if Article 6 is voted down, then those will level funded.
So how is that? I mean, I just remember the last time Meredith went through these budgets, the general department was. But.
There was deficits in the water, sewer, and electric.
Yeah.
So as soon as the April 11th meeting, we're going to start laying out a timeline for rate increases. So that will start to. But we're going to do a complete rate structure. It's significantly longer, a lot more detail, a lot more state involvement. We do a straight across the board increase on electric. I think that's significantly less amount of time, but then the rate structure for the not rate structure, but the rate increase for the water and sewer. We'll have to look at that as far as what the actual estimated for next year is going to be, what kind of capital expenditures we're going to have, so what kind of rate increase we have for water and sewer. The general budget will run at a no increase. Lisa?
I just have a question about a lot of the revenue to keep this level funding is based on the ARPA money. And I know with this town, when we've been talking about the use of the ARPA money, it's not really like a sure thing yet. And so I'm wondering, how confident are we that the revenue numbers that are projected here are actually going to be cash flow coming into the town?
Most of those were on the utilities, correct?
We have that money already.
Huh?
We have that money
So the
already.
money's here, it's
Yes.
just deciding how to spend it.
Yeah.
Hold up, thank you.
More questions? Seeing none.
We gotta go through the other articles.
Oh, they're gonna go read through the articles.
Yeah.
All right. So. Okay, so. She says Article 1 is to elect president, elect village clerk. 2 trustee positions open for a term of 3 years, 2 years. That's Steve and BJ. Elect a treasurer for a term of 1 year. collect taxes for a term of 1 year, which is related to the budget we just went through. An auditor for 3 years, an auditor term for 2 years, and another auditor term for 1 year, balance of 3 and a balance of 3. Article 2, will the village vote to adopt the annual report of the auditors for the year ending December 31st, 2021. If anybody has any questions anytime, please speak up. Will the village authorize the trustees to appoint a water and light commissioner for a term of 1 year? Will the village authorize its trustees to set the rates of compensation for the village officers and employees? Article 5 is will the village vote to budget to meet the expenses and liabilities of the village in the amount of $436,956, of which an estimated $112,055 were raised by taxes. And Article 6, shall the voters authorize the village Johnson to raise, appropriate, and expend up to $30,000, approximately a 5-cent tax increase or 28% increase in the tax rate for the purpose of the community and economic development. Lastly, the legal voters for Village of Johnson are further notified that voter qualification, registration, and absentee voting relative to said annual meeting shall be provided in chapters 43, 51 of Title 17 Vermont statutes annotates. March 4th. Trustees.
I have a clarification question.
Yep.
Article 1 to elect village officers. The treasurer, is that the treasurer of the village? Is it a treasurer? Is it a trustee member that holds the title of treasurer? It's a freestanding position. And what do they come to the trustee meetings? What does a trustee do in the village? Or a treasurer do in the village?
That's me.
It is you.
Yeah.
I thought it was separate.
Nope.
So you are,
The clerk and treasurer.
okay.
Rosemary is this, and this, and this,
Well,
and this,
I
and this.
know day to day, like what Rosemary's doing. I see it in action. I didn't realize she had quite so many titles each had. I just thought it was professional. She wore so many.
She doesn't have enough heads for all the hats she wears. So, any other questions about the warning?
Did 2 of our auditors resign? Because wasn't one of them Joanne Benford?
Joanne's term is up.
Pardon?
Joanne's term is up.
I saw her term is up.
You can write her in if you so choose to. She only needs 9. And we have one that's been gone for quite some time.
How many do we need to do that job? 1? or-
9 votes.
Pardon?
Need 9 votes to win.
You saying how many auditors do we need?
We're supposed to have 3.
We have to.
Should
Well,
have.
supposed to have
What do
3.
they do?
They audit the books.
Is it annual audit or is it a semi-annual? Supposed to be.
They come in once a year and look at them.
Are they supposed to be a CPA to do it?
Not this
No.
job, no.
No, it's not required.
It's sort of like a cross-checking of the director's orders to what's actually.
They look at invoices and different things like that.
So no other questions.
I just have a general question about, village, manager, and without saying what you can have is how's that going?
At this point, I would say promised. Closer than we were a month ago, or 2 months ago, or 3 months ago. Yeah, I personally would say promising. Anybody else got anything to add?
Not sure.
Follow up on
Yep.
that. We're voting potentially to spend money to hire for the economic development position, and how much of Meredith's time was supposed to be spent on economic development? Like how much of the person who's being hired of their time is Is that going to be part of their role?
It will be, it will be,
In support of
it-
this other person?
anybody that we speak to, obviously we find out what they got for experience with grants and so on and so forth, how they feel about writing, if they have experience and doing that. So I don't think there's a percentage of time. I think it's more a matter of squeaky wheel gets the grease. So, if there's going on Tuesday and there's no fires to put out, then the grant thing will be the top priority.
And then they'd be working in tandem with the economic development person supporting their efforts to that.
Actually, if there's gonna be someone whose sole job is economic development and grant writing and stuff like that, then I don't know how much time that the manager will be putting towards that, but
Some of this money could also be used for matches that grants require.
right.
Yeah, and I remember Meredith saying a couple of times that she never felt like she had enough time to do as much economic development, community development work that she would maybe like to have done. Because
Yep, some years more than others.
It's also add though that she got a severe amount of grants for the project list that she had in her tenure here also. So,
To number 2.
Can I just put a plug in?
Sure.
I know that years ago, it shared position between town and village, and we had that dedicated person to economic development. Then we split the positions, town and village. And at the town level, it always seemed to me that what lost out was the economic development portion that we said, okay, this new position is going to be a certain percentage town administrator, a certain percentage economic development. And I think that's the same way it worked in the village as well. But what always lost out was the economic development piece. And I think what happens is it seems like we split the position. Duncan for a while, then Brian was the only their only function was working for the town, and yet they were no less busy. There's always enough fires that seem to come up, and they get focused on, doing the day-to-day, putting the fires out, and they're never looking at the long term. When we had that position, and we had Leah, what we do know is about $15 million came into the town in the village during the time that Leah was here. Now, does that mean that all that came here because of her? Probably not. But I'm very, very confident that we would not have gotten anywhere near the amount of money we did. Yeah, it's because of her and the work that she did. And some of the things that she did, we're still seeing, the shelf-ready projects that she prepared and got ready so that when the funding became available, you could pull it off the shelf and you can apply. Those are the kind of things that I think we're missing right now, is that person that's making projects ready and making them shelf, right on the shelf and ready to pull off. I saw a bunch of comments from the forum about this article, and I expected to be more people here to talk to it. I think, yes, they are correct in that village residents will be paid more to have this position, or whatever it maybe evolves into. But of that $15 million that Leah brought into the community, the majority of it
Was water and sewer infrastructure.
Yes.
Yeah.
A great amount is realized by the village. And even though a lot of the town residents who may be up on Clay Hill or French Hill may not benefit from this position as much as, there's not gonna be improvements up in their neck of the woods like there will be on Railroad Street, Pearl Street, School Street, Main Street, what have you. The ones that will benefit the most from this position is the village. And so, yeah, they're gonna pay the most. I'm gonna pay more because I'm a village resident, and I'm also gonna pay for it on the town side. But I'm also gonna get the biggest benefit out of it too. And I think it's, on one hand, we ought to be very appreciative that people up on Clay Hill and French Hill are willing to support this. It doesn't directly benefit them, but they see it as a whole, the whole community is a benefit. And I really hope it does pass. The town's still got some money, the 40,000, but it wouldn't go very far, certainly hiring someone and put someone in that position. And I know a lot of people think, well, we can contract out for somebody to do grant writing or administrative grants. So there's a lot of people that can do those things. We could contract with LCPC, they can do grant writing for us. But having a person of a layer caliber that makes projects available and works with funding opportunities to make the funding available, that's a different type of role. And the benefit we realize from having her, I think we could realize it again, and we maybe should be thinking about that. We've got a empty storefronts on Main Street. We've lost Manchester Lumber, Park and Stearns. This is all affecting probably the village more than the town because the rate users
Yep.
for electric.
Yep. No, it's definitely, it's part of the driving force behind the rate increase.
And if this position was helpful in moving the needle, I'm still cautiously optimistic on the Jewett property. Half of that property is in the village, so the village would realize any development there is a gain on your grand list, as well as the biggest benefit, probably and more immediate, is everybody in that property, whatever ends up being there, is going to be hooked to your infrastructure, the power, water, and sewer.
Yeah,
So,
personally.
anyways, I'm just putting a plug in for Article 6.
Yep.
I'm pretty long-winded on it, but I actually thought there'd be more people here because of that.
Oh, I always appreciate your time here and your advice there.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, so I need a motion for item number 2.
I don't have my agenda in front of me. What's 2?
2 is the possible executive session is allowed under 1 BSA for contracts for outside services with Dolan Municipal and Utilities Contracting LLC.
Before we do that, welcome, next time.
Huh?
Before we do that, can I say something?
Absolutely.
Like, take a moment, recognize the dedication to Meredith Baxter Dolan. She did a great service for the town, and it's nice to see the right up in there. Rosemary, did you do that?
Susan.
Susan? No, please tell her that was great. Rosemary, thank you for being our information person and keeping us straight. And I'd also like to thank the chair for his trustee report, because it's pretty spot on with the way the things went. And I think it turned out all right.
Thank you.
And I'd like to, I asked Dan to write up that report about the sewer treatment plant. Remember about how to maintain the plant? And I'm gonna tell people.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep, go
can I
ahead.
do that?
Yep, sure.
So I asked, Dan took Steve and I on a tour of the sewer plant. And he was telling us about what people are putting down their drains and in their toilets. And it was incredible. So I wanted him to actually come in and talk about it because he's really good at doing that. But he's doing something else and couldn't make it. So he wrote up a report and I'd like to read it because I'd like to have it in the minutes. And I think we should do this kind of thing again, because it really helps the sewer treatment plant to last longer. So this is what he wrote, basically. There are many things users of the Johnson wastewater system can do to help reduce operating costs and help the environment at the same time. Just because a label says it is flushable, like flushable wipes, do not mean they are treatable at the plant. Things like wipes clog sewer lines and pumps. We then have to manually pull the pumps and unclog them. This costs manpower and causes potential issues because the pumps are no longer operating properly. Examples of what not to flush, it may seem evident, but we see combs, dishcloths, underwear, medicine bottles, big vegetable chunks, and needles. And at least once daily, we get dog poop in a plastic bag. That material gets caught in the rack and must be extracted by hand. We have to wear personal protective equipment to remove those materials and to protect ourselves. Nothing should ever be flushed down the toilets besides what should be. And only organic matter should ever go down the sink. We cannot treat inorganic matter. It costs money and time to separate any inorganic matter. Nothing toxic should be sent down the sewer. Toxic chemicals and petroleum products can damage the biological process at the plant. Please be conscious of what goes down the drain to keep the wastewater plant operating properly and our environment healthy, and to keep our workers safe and healthy. If you have questions, please feel free to call Dan at 802-635-2951.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Diane.
And Diane.
Just saying, it'd be nice if that could get pushed out some way.
Sue Lovering.
Sue Lovering,
Good
I went to
idea.
school and talked, just wonder about how many cones or something like that that were thrown down by kids, just.
Sure.
How many did you throw down the toilet when you were in school?
Exactly.
Oh, I did in there.
And she told her.
We're on a septic. Well, they ended up putting it in, so. They
Yeah,
said,
Mary, we just replaced 2 toilets downstairs and the
Yes.
advertisement was they could take a bucket of golf balls. That it seems like it's not gonna work here. That was the advertisement on the thing. I wonder if we're getting.
You could plunge a bucket of golf balls, it would plug up.
That's the dissolvable one. A little-
We should send those guys, more people need to send them thank you notes. That's the kind of job.
Absolutely.
okay. Well, Diane, thank you for doing that. That was really nice. Okay, if there's nobody else got anything they want to add? Yeah, you're good. Okay, so I'm looking for motion to move into executive session.
Motion possible or executive session as allowed under VSA section 313. Discuss contract for outside services with Dole Municipal Utility Consultant LCC.
Second. And that'll be the 5 trustees and Rosemary, correct?
Yes.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor said motion signify by an aye. Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Aye, motion passes.
Thank you for
Um,
coming. Good night.
There
Thanks for
might-
coming.
there might be some action after the executive session. Is anybody gonna hang around? They want to be notified to come back up or?
No, thank you.
Okay.
You want me to hang around? Is it gonna be quick?
I'm hoping to be quick. I'll do everything I can do to make it quick. So, yeah, you probably want to go down and hang out for a couple minutes and.
Hey, do you have an electronic version of that thing from Dan? Do you have an electronic version of that thing from Dan that you could email me so I can get it all in there? So you said you wanted it in minutes. So.
Yeah, great, thank you.
No, that's okay.
It was just awkward sitting in a whole
I
big
know, it's
row.
always awkward.
You all set, Rosemary? Yep. Okay, so we come out of executive session and just at about 7:36, discussed the contract with Troy Dolan's LLC. And I think we have a motion prepared.
Yeah, I'll motion that we accept Dolan LLC contract to assist us as in training for a new foreman, as long as we can add to it itemized billing, in-person training and a 1 month report on the training evaluation.
Okay, contingent upon review of the village lawyer.
That's correct. Continued on review of the village lawyer, and then we'll
Authorize the chair to sign.
authorize the chair to sign.
Okay, do I have a second? Second on that motion. Any discussion? Progress report for Nate. On Nate, about Nate, for Nate. So, chair.
Sorry, so you're hiring Troy to train me?
We're hiring Troy to continue to do the estimates and supervision of all the projects we got for the village for the next 6 months, as well as train Nate as the job that Troy did as foreman. So that Troy can, so that Nate can see if he's able to do the foreman's position.
And what's his?
Troy, you guys have a contract. I didn't bring mine. It was 80, yeah.
So he's only working with Nate?
No, as I said, he's doing all the, we have several projects that are in play for this construction season, which he's started on. He's going to continue to do the follow-up estimates and see those jobs to completion, as well as train Nate, be the VEPSA representative. What else was on there? All the state required paperwork, all the safety reports. So
All the foreman stuff.
all the,
Okay, so this is the person that said he needed to resign from his position immediately because he felt he and his family were threatened, and that he could no longer stay in that position because he felt threatened.
I didn't hear immediately. He gave a 2-week notice.
Okay, well, the quote that he gave the paper was, in order to protect my safety and well-being, as well as the safety and well-being of my family, I felt my only option was to resign my position as foreman for the village.
so you're making a statement or are you asking a question?
No,
That's not a question.
Excuse me, what I'm saying is, I don't understand the rationale here. He couldn't work as a foreman because he felt threatened and needed to protect his family. Now he's saying he can come back as a consultant for $80 an hour and not feel threatened. My mind is blown.
Okay,
It negates everything that his whole story of why he resigned.
again, it's not a
Why is
question.
this even?
We're not here to decide what his story is or how he feels or anything. We're just looking at it as what we need to do to keep this place running.
At $80 an hour.
Yes,
Yes. Hey, if Troy's not here, who's gonna continue with the project? We're gonna be hurting.
He hasn't been here because he's been at home. And things have been run by Nate and crew.
Okay.
This feels super concerning. It feels like a scam.
okay. Is that all you got?
I just can't believe this decision.
Okay. All right, seeing no other questions?
I don't care if it's temporary or not. It just negates everything, his entire story. It makes it completely illegitimate.
Well, that's what you're
And that's-
saying.
That's, and you're welcome to your opinion like everybody else. Do you have anything else you want to add? Seeing no one else, all those in favor signify with an eye. Diane? Chair is aye, it's unanimous, it passes. Any other business to be brought before this board tonight?
A motion we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor signify with an eye.
Aye.
All right, chair is aye, it passes. We're done at 7:42.